Okay, so we are dividing rational expressions, and we are starting with a number 5 on the example, so I apologize for that. I shortened this down from previous lessons. When you divide, you need to think about how you divide fractions just in general. So really quick, before we dive into the notes, I'm going to give you, I'm sorry, my screen is frozen. There we go. So before we get into the notes, let's just talk about how we copy dot flip. And that is the way most of you guys learned. So if I had something like 4/6 divided by, if I can not break my lead, by 1/3, the copy part of that is to copy down the first fraction. You could reduce it, but we don't have to. The dot is like you're going to change division to multiplication, and then flip, you turn over that last fraction. And then there's a couple of options here. The way that I was taught is you look at any of the tops can cancel any of the bottoms, the numerators and denominators. So the 3 will cancel with the 6, so I can divide that by 3 and get 1, divide that by 3 and get 2, and then I will have, and actually I could divide the 4 and the 2, make that 2 and 1, and then I have it pretty much done. It's 2/1, and the answer is 2. The idea is the same for rational expressions. You're going to copy dot flip or invert and multiply or whatever thing you learned back in elementary school, middle school. So let me get the actual problem on the screen here. So what we're going to do first, before we do that so much, well, we can flip it and then factor it, or we can factor and then flip it. Which do you want to do?
What are we calling it? Flip it, then factor.
Dividing rational expressions. I think I may have forgot to give you a table of contents for that, but it's dividing rational expressions. Sorry. Having a hard time coming back from spring break. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and factor everything first, I guess. So on this top part, I could take an 18 out of both. So I'd have 18 coming out, which should give me x plus, I believe that's 3. On the bottom, you would use the x, so it multiplies to make 40, adds to make negative 13, which is x minus 5 and x minus 8. And I didn't draw the x, but that's what I just did. And then we're going to flip these. Do you want me to go ahead and flip it and make it times? Okay, so I'm going to do times. So this is going to end up being the top, the numerator. And so on that one, if you notice, it's exactly the same as this one. It'll be x minus 5, x minus 8. We already did that. And then the 14x plus 42 is going to go down here. You can take out a 14, and you get x plus 3. And then we just cancel like we did in the lesson with multiplication. So you can cancel the x minus 5s. You can cancel the x minus 8s. Is there anything else that we can do?
X plus 3.
X plus 3. Is there anything else? So 18 and 14 can both be divided by 2. That would make this 9 and 7. So my answer is 9/7. If you want to do 1 and 2/7, you can. But in high school, we usually just leave that proper, or improper, I should say, as long as it's simplified as much as possible. So the big idea here is the same as when we did multiplying. It's just that you have to copy the first one, change that to times, and then flip this. Okay? So let's look at number 6. I'm going to go ahead and just factor. So I'm going to take 4m out of both of those terms, which makes it m minus 1. Down here, I'm looking for numbers that multiply to make 14, that add to make 9. So that would be 7 and 2. So m plus 7 and m plus 2. And you can draw the little x puzzles if you want. And then we need to flip these. So I'm going to go ahead. This m minus 2 doesn't have a power on it. It can't be simplified any further. So that m minus 2 is just going to go down here. And then this we're going to factor and put on the top. So multiplies to make negative 14, adds to make 5.
Negative 7 and 2.
So how about positive 7 and negative 2? There we go. So the m minus 2s can cancel, m plus 7s can cancel, and that's pretty much it. So 4m, m minus 1 over m plus 2. Does anybody need to see more, or do you guys just want to start in?
Honestly, that's pretty good.
So if you don't get the factoring canceling part, you should go back and look at the multiplying lesson. But really, once you flip it, it's exactly the same as what we did in the last lesson, which is good. We're not starting with something new right after spring break.